What are you doing with the opportunities that you have right now? So if you had 10 more opportunities, you'd be better? If you're not taking advantage of the 10 you have right now, what would another 10, 20, or 30 matter at all? But that's part of the lie that we have to sell ourselves. And it's ironic because the very lie that we tell ourselves that to kind of drive ourselves into the future is exactly the thing that's going to sink us into the future, which is that everything is great, and anybody who says otherwise is just a hater. Anybody who's honest about my abilities towards me is just a hater. Anybody who's telling me the truth, I don't want to hear it. I know. I wouldn't want to either. Just like if I was a criminal and I was in court and the judge was passing a sentence on me, I wouldn't want to hear that either. But whether I hear it or not, it's still going to happen. Whether I believe it or not, whether I like it or not, it's still going to happen. The question now is, what is it that you're going to do in that meantime to make the outcome be the absolute best so that the world doesn't happen to you, but that you're something that happens to the world. You're something that happens to life. I'm not saying anything that anybody who doesn't already know. I'm also not saying anything that most people are even listening to. What I am saying are things that you can never say nobody ever told you. But you knew it though. So I guess it's worthwhile asking yourself, what's the lie today? What lie today am I believing that I know, if I really thought about it, is going to lead to me becoming less than what I could become? What's the thing that's stopping me, that's getting in the way of me becoming the thing that could make me proud of myself, that can make my parents proud of me, that can make the world proud of me, or just even stopping me from doing whatever the right thing is? Because there's probably something. There's something in all of our lives. I'm no different. There's something in all of our lives that's stopping us. We've been looking outside of ourselves our whole life, never found the reason. And that's because we're looking in the wrong place. We're looking in the wrong direction. It's like when we tell people constantly, things are going to be okay. Things are going to be okay. And of course you find out that things are not going to be okay. Everything is not okay. Things will not turn out to be just fine, and all is not well. And the people who get that through their heads earlier on tend to do better. Oftentimes people will try to push it out of their heads, but like when we get to a point of people who feel like they're really super special, and there is a balance there, like a fine line there. Like you think about self-esteem. We say that it's important to have self-esteem. Kind of. If you have self-esteem, essentially is when you have a lack of unwarranted negative feelings towards yourself. If you've done a bunch of terrible things, or if you're not doing well, you should probably feel bad about yourself. A big part of the problem is that we don't let people who do bad things feel bad about themselves. And we make excuses for people. We try to make a bunch of ways for them. This kind of goes back to what I was talking about with regards to scholarships. That when we make it so easy for people to go to college and then somebody else is paying for it, we start to think that's just normal. Other people are supposed to pay for it. But then if you don't pay for it, it doesn't really cost you anything. And so you can go in there and if you're not paying for it, what kind of stuff do you study? And moreover, how do you study? It's like it will never cease to just baffle me. Like for example, as I'm sitting around looking in this room right now, there's 3 of you who are even paying attention to a word of this. And I'm thinking, you're getting in here something for free. It's not really for free. Other people are paying for it. But in a couple of years, some of you will be freaking the fuck out trying to get into a college. And you're going to be begging universities to take your $30,000 a year. And you're going to be begging people to let you go $100,000 into debt to get the exact same thing that you're staring at your phone or with your AirPods and then ignoring completely right now. And it's what do you think is going to work out for you? What do you think is going to be different? Do you think that all of a sudden 2 or 3 years from now, you're gonna wake up and go, wow, now I'm ready for education? I got really horrible news for you. You're 3 years behind. You're scoring minimally on your remedial tests when you first go into college. No matter what university you go, even if you get in, you have to take your prerequisite tests, and then they tell you what level of these classes you go into, what level of math do you start at, what level of English do you start at, and then you restart all over again. And if you score really, really low on those things, you can find yourself like 3, even sometimes 4 years, literally 4 years behind, which means you're not doing college in 4 years, you're doing it in 7, 8 years, which is really not uncommon these days. And so what will stop you from getting a college diploma? It's like getting in, okay, sure, we lowered the standards for you, we did a compact for success where all you had to have like a 3.0, which is basically just to breathe in a classroom. And then you get into a university and you get there, and we've never read a book before from beginning to end. We have no idea how to follow directions. We have no idea how to analyze anything. We have no idea how to be resourceful and figure things out. But for some reason we think, I'm prepared. Well, you didn't prepare yourself for 4 years of high school. And I get it. We make things so damn easy to ignore, and we have the standards so low. But then what's your alternative after that? You're going to go into the real life, into the real world, into life? And you think that all of a sudden at that point you become a hard worker or moreover, a valuable worker? Because it's true that everybody has value in and of themselves just by virtue of the fact that you're a human being. But it isn't true that you have value to the world. That's something that has to be earned. In other words, if you're hit by a car and you die, we all sit there and go, that was terrible. Yeah, they will be missed. What a tragedy. And we all feel it for a good 10 or 15 seconds. But if you're someone who's actually accomplished something, haven't you noticed that those are very different? Oh my God, they had the whole world in front of them. It's like the people who die and we have nothing good to say about them, especially when they're young. So what do we say? They had a smile that lit up the room. And you'll see that over and over again in newspaper articles for people that there's just nothing to say about them. And that means you come in and you sold, and it isn't even so much that you've bought a lie. It's like you wouldn't know any different because nobody ever comes along and tells you these things. We just sit there and say, you know what, everything is great and wonderful and you're gonna be okay. And then here's the problem, going back to what you're saying. Then when someone comes along and tells you everything's not okay, things will not turn out to be just fine, all is not well, they're just a hater. Okay. But if you really stop and thought about it, ask yourself, what are you doing to prepare for the future? I remember I had a baseball coach when I was in college, my first 2 years of college. His name was Coach Castle. He's a really fiery dude, man. This guy, if he's not dead today from a heart attack, he probably should be. This guy was just so animated and angry and fiery. We got our hats, and you had to write down goals on your hat. So you had to have 5 short-term goals, 5 long-term goals. So on the bill of your hat, you take it off, you draw a line down the middle. One side, you write down 5 short-term goals. On the other side, 5 long-term goals. And it's one of the most valuable things I ever got from a coach, beyond anything baseball-oriented. He would come by, I'd be taking ground balls, he'd come over and he'd just take the hat off of my head and say, number 4. You know, whatever the short-term goal was. Let's say it was, I don't know, getting a 4.0. He'd ask me, what are you doing right now to make that happen? And you can't just say studying. You have to have like a detailed plan about what you're doing to achieve that one thing. So they couldn't just be like, I don't know what to do. You had to have actual goals, and you had to actually have put together steps to get there. And it was difficult because we have these broad ideas. I want to be successful, well, whatever that means. Or I want to get good grades. Well, why? What value are good grades? The grades themselves aren't valuable. It's what you can get out of. Like, in other words, if the grades reflect actual learning, well then yeah. But like if you cheat your way through and you get good grades, what happens when you end up in the real world? Well, the same thing happens to most other people. And then that's when we fail, and then we complain, oh, my school didn't prepare me. Or it was their fault for making it so easy to cheat. Or because this, or because of that, or because of this, or because of that. Or why is this other group of people kicking my ass? Oh, because they had money, that's why. Because they had more advantages than I had. What are you doing with the advantages that you have right now? And when you tell people that they're special, important, and all that, are there any other effects that you can think of that it has on a person or a person's outlook on life? What are you doing with the opportunities that you have right now? So if you had 10 more opportunities, you'd be better? If you're not taking advantage of the 10 you have right now, what would another 10, 20, or 30 matter at all? But that's part of the lie that we have to sell ourselves. And it's ironic. It's fateful because it destines us to a doomed end. And it's ironic because the very lie that we tell ourselves that to kind of drive ourselves into the future is exactly the thing that's going to sink us into the future, which is that everything is great, and anybody who says otherwise is just a hater. Anybody who's honest about my abilities towards me is just a hater. Anybody who's telling me the truth, I don't want to hear it. I know. I wouldn't want to either. Just like if I was a criminal and I was in court and the judge was passing a sentence on me, I wouldn't want to hear that either. But whether I hear it or not, it's still going to happen. Whether I believe it or not, whether I like it or not, it's still going to happen. The question now is, what is it that you're going to do in that meantime to make the outcome be the absolute best so that the world doesn't happen to you, but that you're something that happens to the world. You're something that happens to life. And it doesn't make any sense to us at all that if you're on a football team that you can just show up 15 days out of the year and play football and win. We understand that it takes 300 days of practice and working out to get prepared for those 15 days. But for some reason, we completely ignore that truth about life in every other area. We think we can just show up after high school. We think we can just show up after college, or just show up in life and have it work out. And I think if you walk up and down Highland Avenue, I think I've mentioned before, if you walk up and down Highland, you're going to see that the shops are full of people who thought that they could just show up one day and wing it, make it up as they go. And how many of them are working in jobs that they looked at when they were in high school or even after that and said, this is my dream job. I've always wanted to work in a flower shop. Thank goodness I'm a clerk in a flower shop. Man, I knew it. I knew if I worked hard and stayed focused, I could greet people at the door at Walmart. I knew it. And my teachers didn't believe in me, but I knew I could do it. How many people talk like this? And it's not that those are dishonorable jobs. It's not that those are lowly jobs. It's nothing like that. If you're doing work that's legal and honorable and you're providing for your family, that's honorable, man. It should be praised. But is it the dream? Is it the thing that you thought you were capable of? Chances are chances are that these are people who thought themselves capable of so much more, and yet they never achieved it. And why not? There's the question. What did they miss? Is it because they just worked too hard? Is it because they were too focused? Is it because they just watched too few movies? Because they watched too few TikToks? Because they read too few books? You know? Or is it because, oh no, I read too many books. Damn it, wasted my time. That's how I ended up here, greeting people at the door at Walmart, stocking the shelves at 3 a.m. I just didn't watch enough TikToks. And it's not a way of putting down those things. They're entertaining, of course. But just hopefully you understand that these are the things that interfere with your ability to become what you could become. Because again, there's that lie that we tell ourselves. There's lots of lies that we tell ourselves. And some of those things are going to work out no matter what my effort level is. But what sucks about it is that you could do so much more. And then at some point you'll look back on it and just say, man, what I could have been. And then the real tragedy might happen. You might have children. And then that tragedy is going to play itself out in how you raise kids. Man, you know what? I could have been this. Well, I guess there's two terrible ways to go. I could have been this, so now you're going to do that. And you drive your kids in an area that you wanted to be successful in your life. Of course, the other side is, well, I'm a colossal fuck up, so who am I to tell my child not to do the things I did? And then you allow your children to repeat the same mistakes that you did. Life is for learning. Life is for not just learning, but more importantly is exhibiting the learning. I'm not saying anything that anybody here doesn't already know. I'm also not saying anything that most people are even listening to. What I am saying are things that you can never say nobody ever told you. But you knew it though. So I guess it's worthwhile asking yourself, what's the lie today? What lie today am I believing that I know, if I really thought about it, is going to lead to me becoming less than what I could become? What's the thing that's stopping me, that's getting in the way of me becoming the thing that could make me proud of myself, that can make my parents proud of me, that can make the world proud of me, or just even stopping me from doing whatever the right thing is? Because there's probably something. There's something in all of our lives. I'm no different. There's something in all of our lives that's stopping us. So find out what that is, because you're going to have to live with it one way or the other. You can live with it by dealing with it now, or you can live with it in 20 years, looking at it and saying, man, it's because of where I came from. It's because of those rich people. It's because of those other people. It's because of this. It's because of that. Everything pointed outside. And the whole time, it's just, we've been looking outside of our lives. We've been looking outside of ourselves our whole life. Never found the reason. And that's because we were looking in the wrong place. We're looking in the wrong direction. So, questions, comments, concerns, complaints, criticisms, critiques?